Welcome to the Prospecting Today podcast. Today we are joined with Johnny Moe. And Johnny, we're going to start out with something that I read that you wrote that I really liked because I want you to explain it. And that is 90% of agents are doing 90% of things wrong most of the time. What do you mean by that?
Oh man, this whole game is a puzzle. And, as soon as you get your license, and from that day forward, you're going to be bombarded with shiny objects. And you're going to sign up for this shiny object or put money out over here and sign up for this thing over there. And really what you need to be doing is focusing on building relationships. And that's it. If you can build relationships, that is the core of business. That is the core of what we do. Agents get into this business and nobody ever tells them along the process that they're starting a business. And when you're starting a business, you got to define who your audience is, what your marketing strategy is, what are you going to do if you don't get any sales. They have an employee mindset. So they're coming in because when you're an employee, somebody's already created the set of tasks that you need to accomplish every single day. You're coming in, you have to create all of that. You have to create all of that. So when they're coming in, they're doing all the wrong activities. They see what, super busy agents are doing or agents that are around them. And if the failure rate's 87%, you're in an office of 100 people, there's a whole bunch of people that are doing it all wrong. So you're going to come in and what are you going to be taught? How to do it wrong. Because that's what everybody else around you is doing. So I firmly believe that 90% of agents are doing things 90% of what they're doing wrong.
Well, you've been successful in this industry for over 15 years as an agent and also as a trainer and as a coach. So give me an idea of something you picked up along the way that you knew you were doing wrong and how you circumvented that to create a more successful situation.
Sure. I think one of the biggest things was when I started my business, the internet really wasn't all that. It was 2002, so it existed. I was just coming out of the dot-com world, so I had light years ahead of most people. But what I was seeing, Facebook didn't even exist when I got into the business, right? And so what I saw were agents just trying to get leads. And today, fast forward 15, 18 years later, agents just trying to get quote-unquote leads. We got to stop calling them leads. We got to start calling them suspects or inquiries because it's not really a lead. They made an inquiry.
So can you just tell me that part again where we were talking about how you figured out in the business something you were doing wrong and you were talking about follow-up and how you perfected that system and put it in place?
Yeah. So what I found out along the way was, a lot of people were worried about getting the number of leads coming in. And that number of leads really is irrelevant because, again, they're not leads, they're inquiries. And I still have the bad habit of calling them leads too. They had all of these inquiries coming in, but they weren't following up. They weren't following up quick enough. There was a whole bunch of things that weren't happening. They were looking for the laydowns. And even today, they're looking for the laydowns, the layups, the easy ones, the cherry pick, the low-hanging fruit, where if you're able to follow up with these inquiries, then you're going to have a much clearer idea of what you're doing. Following up is key. But what I realized was when I'm building my relationships out there in the community with other business professionals and network and in part of Chamber of Commerce, my conversion rate was 70, 80, 90% on average, where with all these online inquiries, you're working harder because there's more of them, but the national average is about 3% on conversion. So by focusing on, relationships, I worked smarter and I didn't work as hard and I actually enjoyed what I was doing. Also, they're more forgiving. If you're not following up within 2-3 minutes on one of these internet leads, or internet inquiries, there's a good chance that you're missing it. There's a very good chance that you're going to miss it. Where they're a little bit more forgiving.
Yeah. What do you suggest they do to put themselves in a position where they follow up quickly? Like, what's a good system to have in place for internet leads?
Oh, man, I like to call it either you need to have something that when it comes in, it automatically sends them out a text message, it automatically sends them out maybe a voice message, pre-recorded, automatically sends them out an email. Now, most of your CRM should, in this day and age, should be able to handle that. Your follower boss, your line desk, those types of things. But you take a look at what I like to call intercepts, and that would be like your agent legend, which is all automated, or your agentology, which is human-based. So the lead or the inquiry comes in, they call, they text, and they make 20 contacts over a few-day period. And what that does is allows the agent to not even worry about it, and when it finally responds, or they finally respond, then you can jump back in, right? So that to me is the ultimate in leverage. You suck at doing it anyway, so you might as well let somebody else do it. And when it's time to close the deal or go on the appointment, it kicks back to you and you do it. Make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. So what is the number one thing you think a lot of agents are doing wrong that they could correct today?
They're not running their business like a manager of their own business. That's 100%. When I was training, I was at the top 5 most profitable KW Market Center. And I was on the ALC, so I had to, one of our requirements was I had to train. So I started to train, I started to collaborate, and, I'm very entrepreneurial. I actually went to school for organizational leadership and computer information systems. So I started to talk to a few people, and what I realized was they weren't running their business like a business, and I created this set of principles called UPAD, UPAD, understand, plan, action, and discipline. And as a manager of your business, you need to understand what it is you're trying to accomplish, exactly why you want to hit those goals. Then you need to make a plan. How many phone conversations per day? How many appointments per week? Those types of things. The macro numbers. And then you need to give that to the technician of your business and put it into action. And then have the discipline to do the work, track the results, track what you're not doing. If you need to have 12 12 two-way conversations every single day about real estate, and you're not having the 12, you got to track that. You got to know that you're behind 6 or above 7, right? And so having the discipline to track that creates accountability back to your management level, and that's exactly what's missing in our business.
Is the accountability portion of it all?
Yes, ma'am. And that accountability comes from discipline. And as agents, it is so easy to, go to that wine and cheese, cut out early, find some excuse to go do something fun and say, oh, I'll just make it up. Or you have a rash where you have 3 or 4 good closings and it's just like, oh, I'm going to kick back. But every day you wake up in this business, you're unemployed. And if a lot of people worried about the macro number, the big number, start worrying about the micro number. If you need to have 3 unique and qualified appointments per week, first appointment only, and you only did 2 for a month, you're behind 1, 2, 3, 4. You need to know that as a manager.
Right. So is that something that you would suggest they can circumvent with maybe getting a coach that holds them accountable if they're not good about doing that themselves, or what would you suggest?
I truly believe in several things, and everybody's different, so only they can answer it. Mm-hmm. And coaching is exactly that. Coaching creates accountability, right? Coaching isn't the magic button. There's no magic websites out there. There's no magic systems out there. There are some systems that work. And, if you're going to start bringing in other systems, you need to have revenue. You need to have capital to pay for these systems. Mm-hmm. Some of these systems might take 3 to 6 months for you to start seeing a great return. So you're going to be able to carry these. But I think definitely getting some books on or some education, let's say, on accountability, on building good habits, on structure in business. I got tons of content out there for free that people can get. If you go into some of the groups that I'm in, I usually share it under the files. So you can get a lot of stuff to build that. In the beginning of my career, there were 3 of us, me and 2 other agents, and we met once a week. And we held each other accountable. Get an accountability partner. Figure out what you need to be doing, and there's plenty of different ways to figure that out there. You can go to freestuffforagents.com too and download a agent planning spreadsheet and such. Then just do it. Then you just have to do it. So having a coach is good, but it comes at a cost of anywhere between $800,000, $900,000, $1,500 a month, depending on the coach or the coaching program. There's group coaching programs out there for $99, which is better than nothing, and it gives you some exposure, but you don't get that one-on-one stuff. So
Right.
it all depends on the individual. Are you self-accountable? Are you self-disciplined? There's trackers out there. I created the More GCI app. You can get that at moregci.com. I don't manage it anymore. I was able to successfully exit. So they're another company's handling that. But you've got to know your numbers, even if you just have a spreadsheet, and just do the work. If you know you need to make 12 two-way conversations every single day about real estate, then it's real simple. You have 12 two-way conversations every day about real estate, right?
Where do they go for those conversations? Is that cold calling? Is that the local Starbucks? What do you suggest will lead them to a successful way to have 12 one-on-one conversations about real estate a day?
Well, it's everything, right? So I created this concept called a lead gen quadrant, and it's some form of phone call, past clients, sphere of influence, expireds, FISBOs, right? We know all that. Some form of networking, and networking is your sphere of influence, past clients, chamber of commerce, those types of things, other business professionals. Some form of online, so either you're paying you got Facebook ads going on, Facebook engagement, you're paying a portal, you're buying leads, those types of things. Then traditional activity, which is door knocking, just listed, just sold postcards, those types of things. So through your database, through your follow-up, through your networking, you should be able to find a way to have those phone calls. If not, go out and talk to people, meet people, pick up the phone, because every agent out there knows people. If you have just 50 A clients in your database, that is all you need. But you got to make sure that they're A clients, people that refer you business.
Right. And how do you nurture a relationship to take that client to an A client?
First you got to, I think, have that connection. You're not going to connect with everybody. So once you're introduced to somebody, whether you're introduced to them through network or introduced to them through a sale, you build a friendship with them. You invite them out to different events that you're doing. Everybody should be doing a couple, maybe 3-4 times a year, doing some sort of shared networking event with another thing I called my power circle is, my core people that I network with. Financial advisor, mortgage person, insurance person, attorney, right? Mm-hmm. Those people, we're networking together. I'm getting to know the people in their levels. They're getting to know the people in my levels. We're going out together and we're meeting other people out in the community together. They're going to know somebody at a networking event. I'm going to know somebody. We simply introduce each other. That's real simple stuff, but it's a lost art because everybody just wants to hide behind Facebook. And Facebook's a great strategy, but it can't be the strategy. There has to be more to it. You've got to get out.
Is that because, Johnny, it's an easier strategy that you see them hiding behind Facebook strategies?
Yes. It's easier. You can sit at your home and do it, and you can be lazy, quite frankly. And online, you can be everybody or anybody that you want to be. But the whole reason we do stuff online is so we can get people offline, and we can be belly to belly with them and have that conversation and that relationship. So online 100% has its place. And we don't have enough time today to discuss all of it, but imagine you had your own community page online and community group where you're doing all sorts of great stuff for the community and people are seeing it, and you're able to run ads through the page scheme, and now all of a sudden you're supporting all these other local businesses or charities and this, that, the other thing. And then when you meet people offline at these chamber events, these community, or even at the charity events, they're like, oh, I've seen all the good stuff that you're doing, blah, blah, blah. You're able to build and nurture that relationship with somebody. The goal is to find 50 of those people. If you have 50 people that are all going to refer you one transaction per year, that's 50 transactions per year. I don't know about you, but my market, that's pretty darn good.
Oh, yes. That's fantastic.
Imagine you doing that through going out for lunch, going out for tea or coffee, meeting for breakfast. You're not so hung up in a what do you call those things? A bull room, making phone calls all day, which is important anyways. That is another strategy. That's why you got to know your strategy. It's got to be a little bit of phone call, a little bit of network, and a little bit of online. How and what are you going to do all day, every day? Because
Right.
you can't just show up saying, ho hum. What am I going to do today? Who should I call? You should be walking into the office at 8 o'clock in the morning knowing exactly what you're going to do from 8:30 to 11:30.
Right. So give an idea. When you talk about what this business really takes to be successful, what does that day look like for an agent?
First and foremost, you got to wake up. You got to be grateful. You got to give thanks. You got to get the mindset right. You got to get all your personal BS out of the way. If you're going to work out, eat healthy. Be at the office at about 8:30 works too, but you be there about 8. Get prepared, get set up, lead generate from 8:30 to 11:30. That's 3 hours. That includes sending out postcards. So you might be on the phone for an hour. You might be on Facebook for a half hour. You might be following up for his networking events or open house because it's Monday and now you're following up with these people, getting stuff entered into your CRM and tagged properly or auto system, whatever. There's 3 hours. Then a half hour for notes and anything else like that. You go out to lunch with somebody. Now you got all after, and you don't drink. See, part of the problem is some of these people go out, they have a martini or two, and next thing you know, it's 3 o'clock, and they're like, oh, I think I'm going to cut out early. Well, you already did 2 hours ago.
Right.
But now this allows you the rest of the afternoon to go on appointments. This is why controlling your schedule is important. You book the appointments, right? Do you want to go today at 1 o'clock, or is tomorrow at 3 better? Right? You protect your time. You got to fiercely protect your lead generating time. And then all of a sudden, you got all afternoon to go on appointments. And if you don't have any appointments, you can go to a networking event. Right?
Yeah.
And if nothing else is going on, go see your family. They miss you.
Yeah. So if you see, can you take a look at, like, as you come across agents, can you instantly spot, like, yeah, this one's going to do well, this one's not? And is it really coming down to, like, I can just tell they're not looking to work as hard as it really takes to make it in this industry?
I would say 80% with accuracy, right? There's been a few where I'm like, oh, this guy's going to kill it. And then 6 months down the road, it's like, hey, where'd he go? Right? Because the people get into this business and they have a complete false expectation. Their expectation's not real. They see Josh Altman on TV and $1 Million Listing, and they're like, I want to be like these guys. Josh Altman slept on a couch at one point in his career when he was starting. You know what I mean? So it's not that easy to get up and get going. It's hard as hell.
Yeah.
So I can look at some people and just say, I'm not interested. When I was training in the market center, I could say, I don't want that person in my group. And I would move them to a different group because I could just tell. Either they talk too much or they were always late. When I say we start at 8:30, we start at 8:30. You're not coming in at 8:45. Your lateness is your problem, not everybody else's and not mine.
Right.
And I learned that in college. If the test starts at 9, the door is locked at 9. And
Yeah.
I follow the same thing. I mean, that's just courtesy for everybody else around you, but also a certain level of discipline, right?
So what you're saying is this is not an industry where the easy money is made.
Not in the beginning, but once you find your niche, once you build up your pool of investors, once you figure it out, you can make a lot of money easily, right? But it takes a lot of time to get to. I've been doing it since 2002 or 2019. What's that, 17 years?
Uh-huh.
I mean, I don't do it full time anymore. I'm pretty much out of production for the most part. If I had to jump back in production, I'd almost be starting all over again because, I've sold off most of the pieces of my business. But, and just focus on what I'm doing now. And so with all that said, I would have a hard time starting back up, but the first thing I'd be doing is lining up my investors, getting back into the community, right? Getting a really killer social media strategy going with an awesome IDX site like a Ylopo or something like that. And I would go into it full bore, right?
Yeah.
If you come into it and you just think that it's going to be great, listen, if you sell the best cupcakes in the world, how are you going to get the message out there? How many cupcakes do you need to sell to turn a profit? What if you don't sell all the cupcakes today? Now you got waste. These are all questions businesses have to ask, right? So if you're brand new or newer or trying to have a breakthrough, what is your message? What is your brand? Who is your avatar? What's your ideal consumer look like? How are you going to get the message out to them? Because it doesn't matter how good you are. If you're going to sit there in silence, you're going to be bypassed. You don't have to be the best. You just have to be the loudest.
What about somebody who doesn't necessarily have that type of personality where they're so gregarious and loud? Can they still be successful in this industry if they're hardworking?
They can, 100%. So if you look at the profile of most real estate agents on a DISC, D-I-S-C, if you're familiar with that, majority of them have I and D. I is like the very interpersonal skills and all that stuff, and they can walk into a room and they're easily liked and all this other stuff. Those usually thrive very well. The D's thrive very well because they're very driven. If you have an S or a C, C is probably the most difficult, and because that's like compliant, the I's are dotted, the T's are crossed. So oftentimes, they're just not as outgoing. And the S's are very systematic. If you're systematic in your approach and you just have a system and it's all business, bang, 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 you can be successful. Some people say, "Oh, but I'm an introvert." Well, so aren't I. I really don't like going out in big crowds. I want to be home by 9 o'clock at night. When I go training and speaking and stuff like that, I do it. It's my job, right? I do it because it's my job and it moves us forward. Yeah, I do like it. I do enjoy it when it goes well. But I would just assume when I'm done, leave, not network with everybody anymore. That's not my. I don't find joy in that. So a lot of people will often tell me, "But I'm an introvert," and I'm like, "Well, that's an excuse." Right? So yes, you can be successful. You just got to find what works for you. And there's so many different ways to do it. Just find what works for you. And then again, there's also a whole lot of supporting roles inside of real estate that one can do. They can be a transaction coordinator. I know people making really good money being a photographer and drone footage and videography, right? They were in real estate, but wow, they're making a couple $1,000s a week doing these other things. I'm still in real estate. I have a training company. I build national expansion teams. I coach. I train. So I'm still in real estate. I'm just not selling houses. Make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
So there's so many ways to make money.
Yeah, for sure. You just got to figure out what works well for you. So much good information in this, Johnny. I appreciate your time. What is the final kind of message you'd want to leave people on?
Boy, what I'm going to say is that this is a mindset game, and you got to have a good mindset in a positive mindset, because you're going to get kicked in the teeth. You're going to get rejected. Your friends and family members are going to buy houses with other people. You can take none of it personally. It is all part of the process. Continue to learn, continue to understand, work on the inside of you first. And what's going to happen is it's going to manifest what direction you're supposed to go. It's going to basically take you down that direction. Maybe you were meant to be a property manager. You just, right? Maybe you were meant to work with investors. You just don't know it yet. And be open and receptive, not closed-minded. Be open-minded to the different opportunities. I've been doing it for 18, 17 years. And I've trained, I've sold a ton of real estate, had a good team going when I decided to exit and go after the whole software and training thing. So I've done a lot of cool things. I didn't know 10 years ago that that's where my path was going to take me. So just be open and receptive and work every single day. Know what you need to do and do it. It's that simple. Know what you need to do and do it.
What's been, in all your travels and all the agents you've worked with, even maybe personally, what's been the best motivational tool you've seen an agent or yourself use to really amp up the right mindset?
Oh, that's a good one. Almost every successful person that I talk with, almost every successful people that I collaborate with all hit some adversity and fell flat on their face at some point. Now, that could have been personally, could have been financially, could have been through the business, could have been spiritually. And it's really important to understand the five pillars, which is yourself, your family, your business, your finances, and your spirit, and keep them all in a line together, because if one's out of whack, they're all out of whack. Mm-hmm. And I think the biggest motivator is life. You got to have and what I mean by that is most of the people that are doing ridiculous things out there that have hit this adversity have found passion. They have found their purpose for doing what they're doing. A lot of people get into this business and they just want to make money, and you can make a lot of it.
Yeah.
You'll make a lot more of it, and you'll be a lot more satisfied if you know why you're doing it, if you have a reason for doing it. And that reason isn't selfish, it's selfless. So almost everybody I know hit some level of adversity. Some people I know 3 years ago might have been cleaning out food trucks, but they're millionaires today. So the biggest motivating factor I think out there is the suck. And I say embrace the suck always, because it's gonna suck. You're not just going to get into this business and make $250,000 this year. Probably not even next year. It took me 4 years to get there.
Yeah.
And I was hustling. And I had an edge over everybody with the technology, right? Uh-huh. But it is possible to get there. And I do know people that have done it in the first or second year. But now I have a completely different driving force for doing what I do, right? But everybody that I've talked to, they've developed some level of purpose for doing what they're doing. And real estate simply funds the greater calling for them.
Yeah. Give me a real world example of that. What's a greater calling you've come across that you see that's why they push so hard and why they're so successful?
Sure. So I have a friend of mine. She just got divorced this year. She wasn't happy. Turned 40 years old, 41 years old now. 3 great kids, amazing career. There was no disrespect in the relationship. It was just flat. Knew that something more had to be done. Something more was out there. So ultimately ended up getting a divorce, doing some deep soul searching. And now she's obviously grown her real estate team, and that's producing well. But now she's helping other people. And I can see the evolution of where she's going, because there's a lot of people out there that are stuck. And what she's doing is giving these people hope and having conversations with these people and using real world examples, which ultimately this whole thing is going to lead to different seminars and such like that, where you can empower people, almost like a Tony Robbins-esque kind of thing, but you can empower people for that mindset, that true mindset growth. And at that point, it becomes an attraction of people. So she's using the platform of real estate to fund her perfect life and reach all these other people, which then pulls them into that other corridor.
Yeah.
Makes sense?
Yeah, absolutely. That's very cool. So I know you mentioned you've got a lot of materials out there that people can consume. So where can they learn more about you? Where can they come across these materials that can help them?
Sure. So the main site is gciacademy.com. That's where all the paid stuff is. There's some free stuff on freestuffforagents.com. And if they want to watch some YouTube videos and everything, just go to YouTube, find More GCI, MORE, GCI, Gross Commission Income, and I got a whole bunch of videos there. And you just follow me on Facebook. Just, I got John Moscillo, which is MOSCILLO, but also the Johnny Mo page. But also follow me in Lab Coat Agents, and I'm a moderator and admin in that suite of groups, and we share lots of awesome stuff there.
Wonderful. Well, Johnny Mo, thank you so much for joining us on the Prospecting Today podcast. You offered so many great tips that I know are going to help a lot of agents watching this and listening to it. So I really appreciate you being so giving of your time.
I appreciate you having me.